Okay, so in this session, we'll try to pick it up from where we have stopped earlier and let us get started. So I'll try to create a Visualforce page by using the developer console, and we'll try to understand the nitty-gritties which are associated with Visualforce technology, and let us get started. Let me pop open the developer console. Let me resize it. This is the Visualforce page that we have created earlier. So let me close this and let us try to create a new Visualforce page. I'll try to give a name to it. There you go, a Visualforce page is created, and all we can see now is opening and closing Apex page tags. And if you remember what I have mentioned earlier, all the code that is associated with this Visualforce page has to go between Apex opening and closing tags. So just to show you how things work, I'll try to put a static text between these two tags. And let us test this. I'll click on the preview button. It opens up a new tab and it renders the Visualforce page that we tried creating now. And we can also see that the text is being displayed. That is because we have put some static text between the Apex page tags. So now that we have created our Hello World Visualforce page, let us go ahead and let us try to spice it up. So I'll try to remove the Hello World static text from here and I'll try to put it post closing Apex page tags. And you can see that an error is being shown now. Nothing has to go after the Apex page closing tag. So I'll try to remove it from here and I'll move it back to where it was earlier. So now that we know static text can be put between these two tags, let us also look at what else is allowed to put between these two tags. So we can use all HTML related tags within the Apex page tags. Just for the sake of demonstration, I'll try to go ahead and I'll try to create a div tag. At this point of time, if you don't understand the following code that I'll be writing, that's absolutely fine, because what I do now is not for beginners. But the reason I show this is I want you guys to understand the flexibility that Visualforce page gives us. As I've mentioned earlier, if you understand it, that's completely fine. And if you don't understand it, that is also completely fine, because we'll be talking about all these things going ahead. So I'll try to create a basic div tag. You can think of div tag as a placeholder where we can put content, and when we want to address that particular section, we can make use of the ID of this div tag and we can try to address this particular section. And what I'll try to do is I'll try to modify the UI associated with this particular div, and the way I do it is I'll make use of something called style, and the code that goes here is called CSS, which is nothing but cascading style sheets. And once again, if you don't understand it, that's completely fine. We'll be covering all these things in the coming sessions. So I'll try to add some styles to this div tag, and all I'm trying to do here is I'm trying to add a border of 2 pixels width around this text, which is this is a div tag. So let me save it. Back in the browser, you can see that it got reflected. We have a div within which we have some text, and this text is surrounded by a border with 2 pixels width and also color green. So like I have mentioned earlier, all the HTML text can be put within Apex page tags and it works absolutely fine. So now that we understood that HTML tags can be used within Apex page tags, so just like Apex page tags, there are multiple other tags, and we'll be trying to understand each and every one of them in the coming sessions. And each tag is responsible in pulling a UI element onto the page. So we have tags like Apex command button. What I mean by that is we have a tag called Apex command button, which actually pulls a button onto the VF page. And then we have something called Apex command link, which pulls a link onto the VF page. Likewise, each and every Apex tag is responsible in pulling UI elements onto the page. So now that we understood that we can put HTML code between the Apex page tags, the next thing that we need to understand is attributes. So attributes is nothing but just like how Apex tags are responsible in pulling UI elements onto the VF page, attributes define the characteristics of these tags. If you have not understood what I mean by that, that's completely fine. We'll look at an example and probably things will become a lot more clear then. Attributes are usually associated with tags. So the only tag that we have seen so far is Apex page, and this is responsible in pulling a VF page. And now we can change the characteristics of this VF page by adding attributes which are associated to this particular tag called Apex page. And one such attribute that we'll be making use of now is sidebar. And this developer console also gives us intelligence so that you type a couple of alphabets and then it starts giving you suggestions. So the very first attribute that we'll be making use of is sidebar, and sidebar can take a boolean input. It can be either true or false. I'll give the value as false. Before I save it, let us go back to the browser and now you can see the sidebar here. Let us see what happens by the attribute that we have added just now. So back in the developer console, I'll try to save it. So the moment I save it, page refreshes here and you can see that the sidebar is removed. So this is removed just because of the attribute that we have added. So now let me rephrase what I have mentioned earlier, which is nothing but Apex tags are responsible in pulling few UI elements onto the page, whereas their attributes define the characteristics of these tags. They define how this tag should behave, so on and so forth. So just like how we have seen sidebar attribute, let us also look at one more attribute, which is show header. So as of now, back in the org, you can see that we have this header, and this header will always be included in any page that you navigate to. So I'll try to make use of an attribute which is show header and I'll give false to it. Let me save it, and back in the org, page refreshes and the header is completely removed. That is because we have made use of this attribute called show header. So just by using these two attributes, we change the way how the page is being shown to the user. That is what I mean when I say the attributes are responsible in defining the characteristics of tags. So if you do a recap of what we have seen, we tried understanding that all HTML tags can be included within the Apex page tags. And also we tried looking at what are attributes. So that should be fine for today, and I'll call it a day. See you.